Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you to Design on High Point Market by IMC, International Market Centers. I am Kim Porter, the Senior Programming Manager. Today, we will have Julie Smith Vincenti joining us to give us our TrendWatch program, our webinar going over all of the new things that you'll see on site at High Point Market this fall. I'm going to invite you to join us and turn it over to Julie.
Terrific. Thank you, Kim. Bear with us while we just switch over to a different screen. Welcome to TrendWatch. TrendWatch is a program that IMC has been producing now for several years, and I have the great honor of steering the ship, so to speak, twice a year when we produce TrendWatch. Welcome to fall 2022. We've identified 3 themes that we are excited to bring to you here in this webinar, as well as at market, in the shape of 3 product displays, an on-site seminar, as well as a market tour. And so first theme we're going to talk about is called modernity, and a little bit about how this works. About 3 or 4 months prior to market, we identify themes and we ask all tenants who exhibit in IMC-owned buildings to submit products that fall within those 3 themes. And then I have the great honor and challenge and reward of going through those thousands of submissions and then selecting the products that ultimately make it into our product displays. Those 3 product displays are located throughout the campus. One is in the IHFC green lobby. The other is in a display case that's located in that avenue that connects the Showplace entrance and the IHFC Commerce entrance. And the 3rd display is located in the entrance of the Suites at Market Square. It's just right underneath the escalator there. So our first theme is called modernity, and this in fact is the image, or one of the images, that we had included in our outreach to tenants. Pastels continue to prove their power, versatility, charm, and appeal in home furnishings, especially in their latest expression, which is go-to hues for confident, playful interiors. Soft or saturated and spanning a range from pink and purples to blues and greens, pastels in modernity are luminous and iridescent and as energetic as an emerging artist earning influence on a social network. There are 4 sort of takeaways that I hope you find not only in the presentation, the visuals I share today, but also when you spend some time at the display. Now, this modernity display is the one that's going to be located in the IHFC green lobby. The first is the combination of these pastels, but this is not a space that ultimately is whispering color. It's a combination of pastels along with brights, and you'll see that sort of manifest, especially in the wall decor selections that I made for our fall display. The second thing I want you to kind of notice or sort of take away is the incorporation of some formal design elements. These aren't traditional elements. These are just formal little reinterpretations of what tradition means. The third is that some of these formal elements actually take on a sort of couture vibe. And the 4th thing is ultimately that we, can, like so many homeowners, look to transitional pieces, larger transitional style pieces to help ground our space. Not so surprisingly, this piece of wall decor from Celadon Art made it into our curation. This is a giclée on fine art paper, an array of vibrantly colored swatches featuring the beautiful textural qualities of watercolor and linen. This piece is by Gail Harris-Mwich for Celadon Art, and it's framed in an elegant white frame. Additional wall decor pieces that you'll see in modernity include these designs from Wexel Art. Wexel Art is a company that I always encourage companies to spend some time visiting at market. They really have some a great story, great artist collaborations, and kind of a forward-thinking approach to being very the sort of consumer being very empowered with their wall decor. If you've been to any of my presentations, you know that I believe we curate our homes, and so wall decor obviously factors in pretty pretty importantly with that kind of messaging. So the piece on the left is Amy Ford's My Portion, which blends pastels and bold accents in a modern and sophisticated way. It's framed in a large Wexel Art lucite shadow box. The piece on the right is by Julie Ahmad. We See the Light is a stunning abstract of blues, pinks, and purples with strong contrast and brightness. It too is framed in a Wexel Art lucite shadow box. Another piece that we're going to have that I don't have pictured for you today is we're going to be featuring one of these new rainbow-sided acrylic floater frames from Wexel Art. And the way that it actually works is it used magnets to float art and photos in the center of the frame. So be sure to swing by and check out that company at Market, and you, as well as check it out in our display, and you can see how to incorporate that particular product in future design projects that you're working on. We're featuring a first-time exhibitor, several actually, and I love it when we have new companies participating in TrendWatch. These two pieces are from fine art photographer Alison Monson. Her artist statement is all about capturing a moment in time, and she views her work as tiny moments shaped by perspective and light. The piece on the right is called Smoke in a Hazy Look. It's a hazy look at Manhattan traffic from the perspective of a motorist. The piece on the right is called Sunset Dreams, and in fact, that's what we'll be featuring in our display. It was taken at dusk in Manhattan when the day slowly melts into night. Our modernity does have an urban feel to it, and so these two pieces, I think, help to complement that concept for sure. Also from Alison, here she sets her lens and examines Billy Button flowers, which is an herb from Australia. So again, these aren't pastels, but it's the combination of these brights with the pastels that we're interested in using to convey this idea of modernity. And what I think helps to make this particular bright coloring work within our pastels has to do with the softness of the material that's been photographed, the softness of the organic material that's been photographed. And needless to say, it adds that extra layer of assuredness. Speaking of confidence, we have some pieces from Accent Decor. The Empowerment Pot is a daily reminder to embrace the power of your voice. Comes in 3 different matte ceramic designs. It's a great planter or vase or for dried or fresh stems. Also from Accent Decor are the Honesty Pots, which keep it real, strong, and empowering. These are reminders that you and your plants are doing the best every day. Terracotta is hand painted and watertight, so great for plants as well as for flowers. I would like to tease one of the themes that we've already identified for our winter 2023 trend presentations. This idea of our home furnishings, our decorative accessories, helping to create an amplification of our voice, an amplification of our beliefs. So that's just a little bit of a tease for some of what we have teed up for the winter markets. As I mentioned, we have some transitional pieces that help to ground our modern space, and that's not so new, right? We look upholstery to upholstery specifically. This is another new company participating in TrendWatch. This is Spectra Home, and while I'm showing you the entire space, it is in fact the Dune 84-inch sofa that you see in the back that we're going to be featuring. This is bespoke. This is really quality, nice upholstery, 8-way hand-tied, blend down cushions, and I can't wait to see how it pairs in with these pastels and these bright combinations for sure. We have another piece from Spectra Home that we're going to be featuring, and it is in fact the Erica chair, which is on the left of your screen. It's in that, it's in a performance fabric called Vault Indigo. And in fact, in our outreach, it was these lighter blues that we received a great deal of submissions. The piece on the left is from Chelsea House. This is their Horizon cocktail table with a white marble top and blue grass cloth on the wood body. There's an antique gold leaf base. A great design statement, just a spectacular form. The piece on the top of your screen is a sofa from Bellini Modern Living that's made in Italy. It's the swing sofa, which is distinguished by this light blue Italian leather. It has an adjustable headrest and also comes in a leather called Maya. The dining room table in a denim finish is from A2 Home. Very upbeat, very very exciting to see that in an interior for sure. And then the piece on the right is another example of bringing in a transitional design element to help convey our idea of modernity or decorating a modern space today. This pillow is called Linenberry. It's a fun floral with a velvet applique embroidery over a soft herringbone fabric. You see these little pops of raspberry color in contrast. According to the company, this is from Anne Gish, its magic is best appreciated up close. It's a cotton linen blend. Some additional ways that blue, and here are some brighter blue examples, are going to be shown in our display. The first is this, we're featuring that accent pillow also from Anne Gish. It's part of the Met by Anne Gish collection. It's inspired by a 15th century Islamic tile. It's a delicate floral that's printed on 100% cotton. Obviously, you see that the collection includes duvet and some shams. It's 100% cotton and machine washable, but I love bringing in this brighter blue alongside this kind of folkloric element. Again, these sort of formal, traditional little elements, but done in very modern ways. The bowl on the right is from Dome Deco, and we're actually featuring about 3 or 4 pieces from this company in our modernity display. Obviously, glass is a beautiful material to work with, achieve beautiful forms, and achieve beautiful colors. What's relevant, and this has been something we've talked about for several seasons now, is this idea of transparency, authenticity, and these just being important concepts that matter to consumers today. And so glass obviously helps to convey that in meaningful ways for sure. Here's some examples of some softer pastels that are going to sort of whisper their way into our display. The Remy Modern Handled Silhouette is in a matte mint finish. That's from Accent Decor. The rug in the center is from Exquisite Rugs Reflections collection. Understated sort of textural details and subtle pastels, handmade using bamboo silk for a very luminous quality. The lamp on the right, again, a kind of formal form, but done up in a way that feels very modern and very suitable then for our modernity display. It's from Pacific Coast Lighting. It's a ceramic body with this icy blue finish and crystal base. As you heard me mention at the top of this segment, we looked at everything from purples and pinks to blues and greens. Here's where the greens are going to show up in our display. This is a swivel chair from Sam Moore. It's the Vero, and it has this very generously padded arm and this very sort of inconspicuous form. There's another example of a Dome Deco piece of glass. This is the Gunter green glass side table that you'll see in our display, as well as the mood-evoking panache area rug from Samad Rugs. It has this abstract design, a kind of painterly quality. Hopefully it comes through in the resolution on your screen that you can see that there's a nod to some animal prints there. Wool and hand-carved silk that really goes a long way to create that high-low effect with a very soft and shimmery look and feel. You heard me make mention of this idea of these formal elements. So these aren't antiques. This isn't traditional furniture, but it uses formal elements done in very modern ways. So here's some examples of the pieces that you'll see in our display. The first is the 56-inch wide draped console. That's by Bradshaw Orrell for Chelsea House. And it's made of composite materials, but it has a sort of plaster-like finish. Also from Chelsea House is the Swan Vanity Bench, which again has these kind of formal elements to it, but it feels very modern. It feels very contemporary. Notice the sort of brass caps and the castered little feet. by Christy Nelson, as I said, for Chelsea House. And then the Shoshana Bud Vase is also a piece that we'll be featuring. It's from Accent Decor, and it has, with those sort of pronounced curves and almost overscale kind of form, it has an almost amusing quality to it. It's speckled clay with a matte white spot glaze. I can't wait to see how our stylist, by the way, her name is Addie Jones, and she's based in North Carolina. Her company is Twine and Twill, and she sort of works the magic on site. So I'll be curious to see the florals that she incorporates into the Shoshana Bud Vase. As I had mentioned, some of these formal elements kind of take on a couture quality. The two pieces at the top of your screen are not part of our display. I've actually pulled these from our trend presentation that I gave at the Summer Las Vegas market, but wanted to incorporate this as, again, this idea of conveying modernity and these formal elements used as couture or to create a very current vibe. And so the table that you're seeing is actually from Curry & Company. It has this wonderful liquid gold is the name of it, which is actually brass form with a gold finish. And then the light fixture I included because, again, these gold finishes are relevant in our modernity display. But it's so much fun too, because those little discs that you see actually reflect the light and end up creating these very artful shadows. It's from Hudson Valley Lighting by Kelly Behoon. And then the mirror actually is this oversized, gorgeous mirror that we're going to be showing in our display. It's from Bassett Mirror and goes a long way to sort of lighten up the space and allow some of these light effects to really be shown in full effect. You heard me talk about this idea of glass and transparency being relevant. It's just like in the same way that we have animal prints in our swatch handles or in our fabric books anymore, these idea of transparent materials are just sort of part of the conversation, immediately going a long way to convey these ideas of nothing is hidden. That being said, the acrylic 18-inch wide table is from Chelsea House. And here's another new exhibitor in our TrendWatch program. This is the Miami dining table, seats 8, and it's constructed from commercial grade materials, namely glass. And it is made, in fact, to be that piece that passes on generation to generation. The company is Casabianca Home. We welcome them to our TrendWatch program. A couple other new companies, Veriluz is, we're featuring 2 of their pendants or chandeliers in TrendWatch. And I'm pretty excited to see Matrix, which is the piece on the left on your screen, in an age gold finish. Sort of 70s glam with a dash of rock and roll is how the company describes it. It's actually hand-forged recycled steel with fluted clear glass rods. Again, that's from Veriluz. The fixture on the right is also from Veriluz. Give me just a moment here. That's the Totally Tubular Collection, which is, again, the company's words, a rad take on the pipe organ, has these layered pipes in a French gold finish. And this piece is actually offered in multiple sizes. I think we're going to be featuring the 6-light version in our display. And then the lovely, very fluid table lamp in the center is from Chelsea House. Antique gold leaf with a clear acrylic base, and for the modern day times has a data port. So that concludes modernity, and I am hugely excited to see how that comes together. Just as a reminder, that's going to be in the green lobby of the IHFC building. The products that are officially part of our curation are included in a booklet or a publication that you can pick up when you come to our seminar. I'll give you the day and the time for that at the end. It's also something that if you go to the chat, and let me try to do this while we're together. In the chat is a link that will allow you to download the PDF of the product that's part of our curation. And in fact, you'll see then when you see that publication that I supplement our presentation with a lot of visuals on top of what's actually part of what will ultimately be part of the displays. So as you can guess, the clock is about to strike midnight. Midnight is our second theme that we're going to talk about today. It's a dark, stormy night, and here lies the inspiration behind Midnight, a showcase of deep and moody hues, such as moonlit blues and blacks, deep reds and earthy neutrals. Burnished metals, especially brass and gold, stone accents, and forms inspired by organic shapes and architectural wonders are part of our presentation. Midnight is serious, sophisticated, and lasting, but modish too. Think lo-fi beats meets blockbuster sci-fi. I've asked my smart speaker to play lo-fi beats all morning so that I'd be in this right kind of mood for our midnight presentation. So we solicited for this theme by sharing a number of images, including the clock face that you saw, an evening sort of street scene where light effects are put into play, as well as a kind of eerie, spooky space. And we didn't just do this because it will soon be Halloween. We did this because of the number of 70s, 80s sci-fi horror throwbacks that are so popular now. The kind of takeaways that I want you to kind of keep with you for our midnight display is that irregularities are celebrated, right? This isn't about precisions. This is about irregularities or asymmetry. This is about matte finishes and handwork details, as well as, last but not least, a sense of otherworldliness, a sense of imaginative approach to decorating. And so I wanted to take a moment to read to you specifically from a Pantone 2023 palette that's part of the Home and Interiors from the leading forecasting firm. They have a palette called Epic Tales, and we drew on that for our midnight display. So I'm going to read from their sort of purple prose specifically because it's so pitch perfect for the times that we're in. And if you consume a lot of media and have a lot of streaming channels and streaming services, you'll know exactly what this is about. Since time, out of mind, heroes and heroines have shown us how to overcome obstacles and meet the challenges of our day. With vigor and virtue, they strive nobly to right wrongs and conquer dragons. The content of their character finds visual voice in the well-wrought details of their gear, from finely worked metals and gems to flowing fabrics and structuring leathers and cords. We escape to the mythic past through tales of historic fiction and imagine new futures and fantasy sci-fi. We explore these compelling alternate realities through books, comics, film, gaming, and more. So I just showed some visuals of a show that's streaming called The Midnight Club, sort of geared to this group of modern day heroes and heroines who come together to ward off evil. And in fact, you see that ominous looking skull sort of coming through on the back wall. And then obviously for anybody who listens in or watches Amazon Prime or Netflix, you're familiar with these prequels to these historically successful Lord of the Rings franchise, as well as the Game of Thrones. So here you're seeing the Rings of Power and House of the Dragon. And so it's so in addition to these this nod to Pantone's epic tales and a lot of these kind of elements you're seeing here and colorways that you're seeing here, our midnight also looks even beyond the history and beyond the present and beyond the known world to also look to space as an inspiration source. We'll get into that in a little bit later, but needless to say, that's a theme we've revisited multiple times throughout TrendWatch over the course of the last, I want to say, at least 8 years. So with that being said, what a fitting image to begin with from Poetic Pillows. We have the Japanese dragon pillows. The covers on these are removable and machine washable if you use the cold, gentle cycle, and low dry heat if needed. The pattern is actually repeated on both sides. Japanese dragons are a symbol of good fortune. They bring us happiness, offering strength and courage at each important turning point in our lives. A little different than those dragons you see in the series, but what a fitting accessory for our midnight display. The case on the left is from Bellini Modern Living. This is the Cali sideboard. And I love the idea how this black sort of matte finish, like a fog, sort of creeps over that walnut veneer. The pillow from Nura-san is beaded tassels lumber pillow from the Mina Victory Home Accents. Polyester face with black sequins and strings of beads create this very textured effect. The designs that you see here are very simple forms. Perhaps, and again, anytime you're looking at a time period where you're going into this sort of fantasy realm or historical fiction, it's really kind of about low tech. I think there's a beautiful sculptural quality to these designs as well, but they feel very fitting and appropriate for our midnight display. And really it's the black matte finishes is one of the takeaways that we can take from this idea of midnight, or this concept of Pantone's epic tales, and look at how lovely these matte finishes look on these pieces. So first up, we have the cane side chair from Cavaletto Home, inspiration from the sort of mid-century work of Swiss architect Pierre Jeanneret. There's an open grain oak frame with hand-laced cane back, and all of the chairs have stone-washed leather seats. The tables from Dovetail, this is the Alicia dining table crafted of reclaimed pine and topped with a concrete tabletop. And these lovely long glass cylindrical vases are from Accent Décor. These are called Wimberley, I believe, and it's a resin, mixed color resin with a very modern style. You can use it to kind of perfectly propagate all your clippings in style. That's from the company, again, Accent Décor. Each one is about 10.5 inches high, and you can see that there's 2 different base shapes. Nura-san area rugs absolutely set the tone for our midnight display. The piece on the left inspires calm with this abstract design from the Michael Amini Star collection by Nura-san. This linear motif mimics the ebbs and flows of a hazy skyline. Shimmering accents shift with the light to create a sense of movement. That shimmery effect is courtesy of the blend of wool, lurex, and silk-like Luxel fibers. The piece on the right is also from Nura-san. This is a more mid-century modern take, of course, for our midnight display. This is from the Passion collection with this minimalist oval and linear pattern in soft gray and white. This is a machine-made design. Speaking of a throne for midnight, look at the Me Lounge from Union Home. It's in a cocoa boucle. It stands about 55 inches high, a real playful armchair that definitely has this wonderful curves to it. Certainly the kind of throne that I'd rather be sitting in than one made of swords. The piece in the center is from Regina Andrew. It's actually an aluminum vase with a finish that's modeled texture to kind of create a very handmade feel. It's a blackened plaster. It's called Poe. And the table on the right is Lexi cast aluminum side table from Zuo. As you see it here, it's an aluminum top, also available in marble. So again, these kind of architectural forms was part of our outreach and solicitation for our midnight display. Just notice kind of how we're confidently mixing the browns and the blacks and these burnished metals. These are the Dolly nesting tables from Villa and Home. Villa and Home is the new name for Bungalow 5. So you probably know Bungalow 5. I believe they're now branded Villa and Home. These are the Dolly side tables that speak to modern moods through timeless design. Each piece is wrapped in an antique brass cladding. It's a very tactile element. I love the way these two designs sort of work together, as nesting tables do. The large one's about 22 inches wide, just to give you a sense of the size of these pieces. We'll have these in our display. And again, I should share that our midnight display is going to be in the showplace walkway case. That's the one that connects in that corridor that connects the commerce entrance and the showplace entry doors. We have this grass cloth wallpaper from Tempaper that we're going to be featuring in our display. It's grass cloth black, removable, as is the case with the Tempaper wall coverings. It offers a sort of pared back approach to style, and it balances natural materials with almost a sense of nostalgia, but it's sold as a double roll, I should add. But you can see this wallpaper in effect, and it doesn't necessarily only speak to, there's an element of nostalgia with it being grass cloth, but look at this very contemporary, forward, and very livable presentation of the wallpaper in effect on the right of your screen. Filmers, metal occasional tablers. This is another first-time exhibitor in our TrendWatch display. Love the linear pattern. If you can recall that area rug I showed you from Neuroson a couple slides ago. Again, these linear patterns showing up in these tables. We're featuring one or two in our display, this kind of metal rod element that surrounds the design, as well as these sort of open negative spaces and that sort of solid top that really gives some sort of sense of sort of the piece floating. I'm excited to see those. As I had mentioned at the top, that while Pantone's Epic Tales looks very much to a fantasy realm, a science fiction, or excuse me, sort of almost medieval times, a historical fiction. Our Midnight also incorporates space and sort of virtual worlds as inspiration sources as well. And there's plenty of evidence within media available today on the many, many channels we can choose from that speaks to this popularity of additional inspiration or landscape sources. And so I think this is from a show, the name of it is escaping me right now, but I think it's Overload or Upload. I think it's called Upload. And there's also a show, the one that features Sissy Spacek, where somehow or another this couple is able to access another dimension. The colors is an inspiration source or of interest here in this slide. Here's some examples too, I guess, from that same series. And so with those colors in mind, our Midnight also incorporates these purples and these blues and these kind of otherworldly, almost lunar or planetary textures as well. These designs are from Aviva Stanoff, a company that's supported our TrendWatch and always on the beat in terms of their colorings and their textures. The piece on the left is Angel Wings in the Solstice colorway, the Alchemy Amethyst Crushed Velvet in the center of your screen, and then the Phoenix Night Mineral on the right of your screen. Space, as I said, is an inspiration source, and specifically lunar surfaces. If you know or follow NASA, or you've listened in on any of those podcasts that they stream, which are great. The moon is the Artemis project will be landing humans on the moon again soon, with the goal of several goals, including the concept of farming, and what can we actually do to raise crops on the moon. And then any of our moon explorations are really about then what can we then perform on Mars. So this moon farming podcast is really interesting. If you've got an interest in biology, I sort of recommend that if you have the time to check that out. So the moon specifically as a form, an inspiration source. And so these two pieces are from Wexel Art. This is by Melissa Borrell and Wexel Art. As I said, this is the Midnight Moon and Midnight Sun collaborations. And what you see here are multiple layers of acrylic colors in various bold shapes that blend these neutral colors together to create shadows and light. basically, 3D piece of art, which you can hang in any direction, and it's just sort of delightful to look at from all different vantage points for sure. Looking very much like something you'd see in a spacecraft is the Wave Lounge from another new participant, Trolls of Denmark. Trolls actually translates, because I looked it up so I would pronounce it correctly, it's Danish for the word trust. A lever controls the adjustable back, so you can sort of move it up and down and really create that sort of be jettisoned into the ultimate comfort. And the moon as an inspiration source in terms of shape. This Phillips Collection chair is not part of our curation, but I wanted to include it just because I think that silvery color is so spot on. And I wanted to contrast it with the gold fixture that you see there. That's going to be our moon in our product display at Market, which is in just a little over a week. The Nouveau Gray Club chair is a throwback to sort of 70s contemporary lines and with those stainless steel legs. The fixture is from Chelsea House and sort of features that French gold. And again, within our midnight, while we sought out finishes in burnished brass and coppers, we also received a fair amount of gold and silver submissions as well. So space is an inspiration source in terms of form, or the lunar surfaces, I should say, in inspiration source in terms of form, in terms of texture, but the moon, as I had alluded to just a moment ago, as a solution for the problems that ultimately our planet will come to face. And this is actually a pretty good segue, not just in terms of the colors on this slide, but this is a good segue in terms of our third theme, which is called ENTWINE. Now, it's scary when you start seeing statistics like that the United Nations predicts that Earth will have to feed another 2.3 billion people on our planet by 2015. And that's mostly concentrated in urban centers. And so this concept of growing vertically is of great interest, and I find sort of fascinating, just as an avid gardener and someone who composts and someone who grows as much as I can, weather pending. And then the image on the right is from a collaboration that actually dates back to 2019. It was Tom Dixon and IKEA, where they created this installation that was an homage to vertical farming at the Chelsea Flower Show in London. This idea of hyper-natural and hyper-tech, and just a more sustainable way of growing food to feed our growing populations on our planet. So this is, in fact, a segue into our ENTWINE. ENTWINE is about woven materials, and woven materials, many of them, some of them, carry a great sustainable credibility. And I wanted to just talk about this concept of renewable materials beyond just grasses and beyond just, rattan and cane, to also show where some of the innovation is also taking place. So the piece on the left is from Oceanides. These are the Oceanides luxury tables from Alex Mint. And they're made from this kind of marble and Poisidonia oceanica sea plant that actually washes up on the shore. So this plant would normally be considered a byproduct that would go into the landfill, but instead is sort of upcycled to create this kind of texture that you see on the table on the left. Meanwhile, a Stockholm creative agency was commissioned by a couple of chefs actually to create a chair for a restaurant, a new sushi concept restaurant. And that design team came up with a chair made of recycled fishing nets. And so when we start talking about ENTWINE, we are talking about the idea of things woven together. So that's the tactile experience. So that's the pattern that's created. But we're also talking about sustainable materials. And so that's not new, right? Woven materials are something that we've been talking about and talking about in great deal as soon as the pandemic hit. And it started our industry thinking about what is sustainable. and what can we, in a time where production cycles have slowed or halted, what is still taking place? And well, bamboo is still growing, and grasses are still growing, and materials used to create cane and rattan furniture is still growing. There's a great deal of flexibility in those materials. So we round out 2022 with this homage to casual comfort, quiet moments, favorite spaces. And these woven materials are instrumental. We talk about biophilic design concepts, like we were talking about vertical farming, and comforting textiles that come together to deliver the feel goods, the clarity, and the purpose that consumers seek. So the key kind of takeaways here are some of the takeaways that we've talked about in past presentations, whether it's been in TrendWatch or our companion or cousin program called First Look, which we deliver at the Las Vegas markets. These are renewable materials, and that makes them important for the issues that as a planet we face with regard to climate change and satisfying demand and meeting production. There's a great artistry and flexibility to these materials, as well as solid structure and confidence that we can have in these materials that may otherwise have been perceived as being just something for the outdoors or casual little accents. Anecdotally, when I was in my early 20s, I'm about to turn 50, when I was in my early 20s, one of the first furniture purchases I made was a rattan settee, chair and ottoman and table set from Crate and Barrel. And I can tell you that to this day, I'm sitting on that same rattan settee right now. I'm looking at that ottoman and table, and in my kitchen seating area is that coffee table. With the right cushioning, these materials last. These materials are lightweight. Speaking of that young 20-something living in a really tiny one-bedroom condo in Chicago, it was really easy for me to move this furniture around, and for good thing, I was the only one in the space doing so. It's lightweight, and then in many cases, you can also have this sort of indoor-outdoor credibility to the materials woven from grasses and rattan as well. So these are a couple of the images that we used in our outreach and in our preview of TrendWatch. So let's kind of get into some of the submissions that came in. This is from Big Ass Fans. They're not going to be featured in our display, but they did submit this design, and I wanted to be sure to include it in our webinar today because this interior, I think, absolutely captures this sort of mood behind ENTWINE. This kind of relaxed space. It's still very reverential of material, but very calming for sure, simplicity, freshness, and openness. And whether that's achieved in a large, gorgeous space like this, or a more intimate setting. This is a piece from Greenington Home. This chair and sort of bistro table are going to be in our product display. Now, this is called ENTWINE, and this product display is the one that you'll see at the entrance of the suites at Market Square. This is crafted from bamboo, and the company is able to achieve this wheat finish. It's not a stain. It's achieved by way of this process that uses heat and steam and pressure to transform solid bamboo into this variety of tones that you would see in wheat. Upon that table, you'll see some tabletop items and linens. The first is these linens from Abigail's. The artisans carry on an age-old tradition passed throughout the centuries of hand blocking. This is their new Cabana collection, and it includes cotton linen napkin, all cotton napkins, as well as tablecloths, and then the stack of these lovely serving pieces from A2 Home. You can see that at Market. And then Accent Decor's three-toned epitome collection makes a statement as you feature it in any of your tablescapes, fired twice to achieve that matte finish. And it's printed with these sort of delicate neutrals that hopefully come through on the screen, and you can kind of see that it almost as if you can see that sort of that they've been dipped to create that 3D tone. These two pieces are going to be in our display. So this is our opportunity for a small little nod to the menswear patterns that we're seeing. And the chair is Fen Sepan from Cavallado Home, and it features smoked oak and as well as leather woven details throughout the design. We're featuring a fixture from Zuo, as well as this lovely Cristino chandelier from Woven's Crossroads collection. Woven is actually the new name for a company you probably know, Celamont. So when you hear me say Woven, it's formerly Celamont. So Zuo, that's the design on the left on your screen. They use hemp ropes to form the Florence ceiling lamp. And they use just a simple technique of just using verticals and horizontals to create a really interesting form, bring a sort of natural look into your interiors. Meanwhile, the Cristino chandelier from Woven is named for the Italian word for basket. It has rattan, peel, and leather. The accent decor Rosario wall hooks are part of our Entwine, these sort of linear curves that you can see on these fun little designs, as well as the more caged design from Hinckley Lighting. This is Nico, part of the Lisa McDenon collection, and essentially it's a wire woven design and sort of striking. They position it as having coastal, a sort of coastal influence or provenance, but I think you can absolutely present this in a variety of interiors for sure. The Darce accent chair is also from Zuo. It is an outdoor design, but I like the sort of braiding and cord, almost macrame detailing throughout this chair. And then Villa and Home, formerly Bungalow 5. This is their Zanzibar stool. And I like the patterning on this design to help sort of reinforce this, these woven ideas, angled planes and artfully placed pockets of negative space. And I'm just moving through a little faster because we're running out of time. We have this fun little furry companion in our woven, in our Entwine display of woven designs, the Mongolian fur and the stormy colorway from Aviva Stanoff. The Lillian Ottoman with its sort of boho chic braid is from Zuo. And then we have another design from Woven, formerly Celamont, and this is their Glen Ellen armchair, done up in this kind of effortless elegance for indoor or outdoor spaces. And it's rattan that's wrapped in a synthetic. That's what helps to give it that outdoor application. The Vineyards Alejandra bench is an example of woven, in this case, a leather. This very minimalist design that I'm eager to see in our display, as well as the Colonial Coast Lounge made from recycled teak in a Porto natural finish with cane and leather. This is from Union Home, and you'll see this blend, the very first image I showed you, a wheat finish, all the way to these kind of cognac or cordials or spirits inspired colors. We would be remiss if we didn't include some sort of soft feel goods, and we have here the high-low Moroccan rug from a company called The Orientalist. Diodora Poof is from Dovetail. It's hand-woven wool and chenille in these lovely neutral tones, complemented by the Baccara armchair from Essential Home and Living. We'll have this chair as well as the ottoman in our display, speckled flat rope that's wrapped around natural rattan. And as I look out my window here in Chicago, we have a fall, rainy, blustery day. I'm ending with these native spun natural throws, which would feel very good to wrap up into. I don't know if you know this company, but this is the first time, I think it's the first time we're featuring them in TrendWatch. All of their cotton's grown in Texas, and then it's spun in North Carolina. And this is an example of their naturals or sort of neutrals presentation. So a classic waffle that uses organic cotton yarn, loop nature, gold dust and speckle. Those are the designs, I believe, in the center that have a chevron weave and a loopy wrapped blue clay yarn. And then another classic waffle on the bottom called Bruges in a boucle yarn that's actually rescued from a mill closure. So with that being said, just a reminder that you can go into the chat and you can link to the PDF that you can download, and that's going to give you the names and the showroom locations of the companies that are part of our curation. And I do hope to see you live at Market. So I'm going to be giving this presentation only more meat on the bones, more imagery, more visuals, more animation. And that seminar is going to be on Saturday from noon to 1 Eastern at Market. And that's typically located in the Suites at Market Square presentation room or seminar room. And then for a more intimate, hey, get to know Julie, we have a tour. We do the TrendWatch tour. And I enjoy this so much, and I hope you'll consider coming out and joining us. We meet at the Suites at Market Square and we talk about the display. And I share a little more behind the scenes. And then we kind of weave our way from the Suites at Market Square up to the Showplace walkway. And then we make our way over to the IHFC Green Lobby display. And along the way, I like to kind of point out some showrooms and some products that have sort of caught my eye. We, in following that path, get to pass through the inner hall. And so there's always a lot of great things that I like to share. I hope to see you then. And thanks so much for your time. Thanks for joining us.